Yo, Loki has gone to another level. Much like with episode 4 of the Winter Soldier show, the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, episode 4 of Loki has elevated this series to a whole new level. This is now officially my favorite MCU Disney Plus show so far, and it was already getting there, but dude, so much stuff happened in this episode. So much was packed in. There was so much great writing and character development. Like, this was a phenomenal piece of work. Kevin Feige, Kate Herron, and everybody else involved in this show should be very happy after this episode. So, I mean, where do we start? Where do we start? I don't know if I want to recap the entire episode because I'm assuming that most of you, if not all of you, have seen it. I just want to talk about what I liked and didn't like because, man, I mean, actually, I liked almost everything. Well, except for one thing, but I'll get to it. I really liked how in this episode there were two major character arcs. Well, three, but two major ones. The character arc of Mobius and the character arc of Loki. Because, the TVA captures the two Lokis or whatever. And Loki, the Tom Hiddleston Loki, he is coming to terms with the fact that he's a narcissist and the fact that he's starting to grow an attachment to the Enchantress Loki. And that becomes like a real plot point here, all the way until the end of the episode. And then we find out that the way the Enchantress's powers work is that she doesn't put memories into your brain like what Wanda kind of does. She can tap into your old memories. We find out that C20 saw her old self. And we find out that, man, there's a lot of stuff that happened, yo. Like, Mobius's boss is actually, like, not a good guy. And there's a lot of twists in this episode, man. The timekeepers are actually just robots. They're androids that were created by somebody else. Maybe Kang the Conqueror. Who knows? Who the hell knows? And the whole episode was kind of like the arc of Mobius with Loki telling him, like, look, the TVA have been lying to you. You didn't get created by them. You had a previous life. You're a variant. And then B-15, which is like the heavy-set, dark-skinned lady, she also has her own arc, by having Lady Loki touch her, Sylvie, and give her memories of her old self. This was all really well done because they packed a lot into this episode. The previous episode was really focused on developing the two Lokis, which I guess needed to be done to have this make more sense, to have it give it more of an emotional impact. But I really loved, got to give it to Owen Wilson, got to give it to Tom Hiddleston. They're amazing together on screen. And I love the fight at the end of the episode where the two Lokis rebel against the TVA, and they have like some people are going to compare it to like the throne room scene from The Last Jedi, boy and girl against an army of guards. That's pretty much what it was, right? Except that the big twist in that scene was that Loki got pruned. And actually what bummed me out was the fact that Mobius got pruned. Like, that actually, when that happened in the episode, you got to go into these episodes not knowing anything, man. They're much more enjoyable if you don't know everything. When Mobius got pruned, I was just like, whoa. Because I was not expecting that, and I really didn't want that character to die. I wanted him to at least make it to the last episode. Because I love his on-screen chemistry with Loki. And I love the fact that these Loki have created doubt in people's minds. And all it takes is doubt. All it takes is a little bit of doubt for somebody to change their mind on something. That's very true to life. And I really like that. And I really liked how, like, he gets pruned, and then Lady Loki basically wants answers about what the hell's going on. Because this episode had very much of a Wizard of Oz flavor to it. Lots of Wizard of Oz, where they make it to the timekeepers and they're actually just androids. And obviously that whole thing about the TVA being villains is true. It's all true, but not the individual members of the TVA, they're just pretty much slaves. They're variants. It's the whoever is trying to keep the timeline to be one timeline, the prime timeline. That's who the villain actually is. And so, obviously, obviously, this show is going to tie into the MCU Phase 4 way more than we thought. Because now, with what Lady Loki did and what's happening, the multiverse, like, it all sort of makes sense. Only thing we don't know is who is behind the TVA. Who is the mastermind behind that? And that's what I am curious about myself. Because these guys have an incredible power. And how do they take variants and convert them into, slaves? I'm curious about that. But I wonder if maybe the pruning process is it. So you get what I thought when you get pruned, you die. We all thought that. If you watch the mid-credit scene, because there was a mid-credit scene, that changed everything. Loki, the male one from, our universe, he ends up in this other place, realm, and he's confronted by several other Lokis, including one played by Richard E. Grant. And so the story here is that the variants who get pruned end up there. But then where do they go? See, that, I don't know. I mean, I do not know where this is going, and I'm really excited about it. I cannot wait until next week, dude. Because that next week, episode 5 is going to be a very important episode for this series, because it's actually going to explain what is going on. It's going to explain, like, where this whole thing started, who the TVA, like, who the time, where the TVA came from, what, like, the Enchantress's whole event was that made her become a target. And I really want to also talk about how I love the chemistry between Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. I love, like, how they have that scene together where he's like, you can be anything you want, even good. And that breaks away from everything we heard about in the first episode, about how you can't be anything you want. You have to follow what the timeline wants you to follow. You have to follow what these time gods have predestined for you. And I really like this whole, like, free will versus predestination sort of subtext. It's very interesting and not something we've seen covered in the MCU. And I'm glad they covered it in the Loki series, because trying to cram all of this into a movie or multiple movies is a lot harder than doing it in the series, because you can do things like cliffhangers. You can do things like teases. You can do things like foreshadowing and build things up slowly. These guys really are masters of the craft, and I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to see now where we go, because the reveal of the multiple Lokis is, how many are there? Hundreds? That is very interesting. And there's going to be a lot to explain next week. What a great episode. My favorite one of this show so far. I think the cliffhanger is right up there with U.S. Agent snapping. Maybe not in in the way it was. It's a different kind of cliffhanger. This is more like, what the hell, versus like him just saying, like, whoa, he lost his mind. But it was right up there. And this is obviously going to build to the finale, episode 5 and 6. And I, for one, am invested. Dude, what a great episode. What a lot of stuff happened. Everybody kind of got their moment to shine. I like the idea that Mobius might still be alive in that other realm that Loki went to. It's great. This show has taken me on a ride, and that's the best I could ask for. Tell your friends they need to watch this show, because it's getting better and better and better. I'll talk to you soon.